Hello, 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 everyone. It's Christina George. I'm back with another episode of Paranormal Connections Radio Show. You probably see to my left or to my right, no Chad. Where could it be? Who knows? Maybe the ghost got him. So he might show up, he might not. I think he may have, with all the 4th of July weekend festivities, he may have forgot that we have a show tonight. But you get me. So go figure. All right. So tonight, I've actually got a lot of messages about our guest tonight. She happens to be a very good friend of mine. I absolutely love her to death, and I think you guys are going to absolutely enjoy having her, listening to her interview tonight. So tonight's guest is going to be Vanessa Hogle. She's, as I said, a friend of mine. She's a talented psychic medium. She does tarot card readings. She's a paranormal investigator and an author of multiple books. So we're going to be talking some about that as well as their new book that'll be coming out shortly. Vanessa has been in the field for a long time, so she's had plenty of places to investigate. She's been all over the place, overseas, Ireland. We could go on for hours and hours and hours talking to her. So we're going to talk about whatever you guys would like tonight. I'm going to start it off. Make sure that as you get here, start putting your questions in if you have them. You can also private message me through all of the social medias that are connected, and we will get to those. Hey, Jennifer, nice to see you. All right, so people are just starting to get here. Because I started just a few minutes late. So as people get in here, we will acknowledge you. And again, hope you enjoy the show. Well, hello there, beautiful. How are you?
Hello, my love. I am great. How are you?
I am good. And, it's so good to have you back on. It's been a while. We've been friends for a very long time. And it's always amazing to have conversations with you. You always have, great stories, all kinds of stuff going on. Boy, oh boy, you just are the multitasker extraordinaire.
Yeah, I would jack of all trades, so to speak. you know,
Absolutely.
there's a
Absolutely.
lot going on, a lot going on. But it's so good to be on here with you, hon. It has been a cool minute.
Yeah, it has been. I had to take that, like 2 years off, with my mom and me almost dying from COVID. And then, with just the complications with my health, I just had to take a step back for a minute. And to be honest, I didn't know that I was going to bring the show back. But it was just like people were constantly messaging me, and saying, oh, are you going to bring the show back? What are you going to do? And then I was like, is there really, do people really even want to see it? And so I put out a post one day, and I was shocked at how many people were saying yes, that they wanted it back. So here we are. And of course, I had to, for the first 6 months, I had to go with all of my go-to people, my great friends that, I know are amazing when we come to interviews and talking about paranormal. So of course you were on my top of the list.
Bless your heart. Thank you, honey. And I'm glad you brought it back because so few shows out there will actually dig into the nitty gritty of things and, actually want to go against the grain on what's considered appropriate or pertinent or anything else, and they kind of want to follow the same script that seems to please everybody, but nobody learns anything.
Right.
you know, I've been on very few shows that actually don't mind ruffling a few feathers, and yours is one of them.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I like that.
I think I, got a little bit of a, you know, um, rumor going around that, I can be a little bit of a controversial show for people, but yeah, it's only controversial if I'm talking about you and putting all your, putting exposing you on my show. I mean, I don't. It's and you know me long enough. I've done plenty of exposing shows.
Yeah.
It's never a personal grudge. It's never like, oh, I'm going to do it because somebody that I know doesn't like somebody else. Like, it's never
Hmm.
about that. But if it's a topic that I feel like is very important or people are doing some really shady crap that needs to be put out on blast, it, this field is, and I get it because when I was brand new in the field too, I mean, You remember people just tried to take me out and almost did. And but I think that, when you're strong, you end up going through this field for long enough, you get strong, and people's opinions of you just don't matter to you anymore. I mean, people are going to like me, people are going to hate me. Most people who like me are the people that, aren't doing shady shit in the paranormal, and then they never have to worry about me, right?
Exactly. Well, and this is the way I look at it, because with a lot of your shows, when it does come to calling things out, paranormally speaking, it's always because somebody has put themselves in the position to be questioned. If you're going to make blanket statements and things of that nature, you got to be willing to have the cojones to come on and back up what you said. And oh, there's Julia. Hey. And I mean, like I said, when I told you earlier, ask me anything. If I have said it, I'll tell you why.
Absolutely.
If I haven't said it, but I'm thinking about it right now, I'm going to tell you, and then I'll tell you why.
Right.
Because I just don't feel, especially in this field, which is all opinion. I hate to really burst people's bubble. I don't care how many times you go on social media and talk about your scientific experiments. I don't care how many times you go on there and talk about these amazing new scientific tools you're using. I did an air quote. Could you see it? Air quote scientific. I don't care how
You
many
must
times
be,
you
you
do
must
that.
be, you must be using your psychic abilities, because I was just talking to someone about I needed to do a show just about that. And you and I know we're talking, we're on the same level right there. But yeah, it's driving me crazy. And the other thing that drives me crazy is that you get people that get called out, right? And then they
Mm-hmm,
disappear for a couple of years. And then
mm-hmm,
they come back under another name, or they come back trying to be new and reinvented.
mm-hmm.
Very short lived, because it's still the same old bullshit.
Well, and that's why everything that I do is under my name. It's not under a team name. It's not under a pen name. It's not a hi, I'm Vanessa Hogle, and anything you find out about me is going to be under the name Vanessa Hogle. Always has been, always will be, because if I've said it or done it, I own it. And if I
Right.
learn from it and realize that maybe I perceive something differently, I own that, because ain't a damn one of us out there infallible.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, again, I think that people are a lot of times are such people pleasers in this field, because again, it's like being put on repeat. It's like I when I look back at when I first got into the paranormal, it's like it's the same thing for everybody new coming in. It's like, first of all, they want to get in and they want to be known, and then they want to like share their information, and then they're so gung ho of like, oh, I want to speak at conferences, and then, oh, I want to be on TV, and they do all this striving, and it is not always what you think it is. Absolutely, you can get in paracons, but you know what? Most you will see have the same speakers. They're all friends. I'm not kissing anybody's ass to be speaker at a paracon. It's not like I'm making a whole bunch of money. Everything I do to help support the people that I'm going to support. So I see it, and it's like, no matter how much you try to, it's like, when you have kids and you try to like give them advice so they don't repeat your same mistakes, and they never
Mm-hmm.
want to listen to you because they think you don't know what you're talking about, and they know how to do it the correct way, and it'll never happen that way. And then bam, it's like 5 years later, I'm looking at them and I'm looking at their pages, and they're talking all kinds of crap about all the people they used to be with. And we were talking just before we went on air about the whole para-unity thing. I had somebody who came to me recently and said, hey, we should do a para-unity conference. And I said, yeah,
Sorry.
no. I think somebody already does that. And I said, it's bullshit anyway. So I'm not going to be part of it, because I don't believe in para-unity. I think that there are small groups of people that can get along, most of the time just for short periods of time, some
Mm-hmm.
long. But I've seen people who've been co-founders of teams for 10 years, and they're just great friends, and then as soon as something bad goes wrong, boy, they are all hitting me up trying to trash the other one, of how bad they are. So, again, I don't, new people coming in, I know it's a great concept. So if you're new and you're listening, I know I got a lot of new people recently that have been watching the show. The para unity is a bunch of that. That's just a fantasy. That really,
It's a bunch of hooey.
right. I mean, yeah, because
Mhm.
I mean, you've been in the field at least as long as I have. So again, and being a psychic, we had to go through all of the issues when we got into the paranormal, not being accepted. Because if you even said you were psychic, or if a team said you were their psychic on their team, you were completely blacklisted immediately. Because and then all of a sudden it changed. And then the first thing that happened once psychics started going on TV for the paranormal, all of a sudden, like a light switch, everybody was,
Everybody's psychic. I know, right? I do have to say, I was very, very, very lucky when I kind of, kicked the door off the broom closet. Because one of the main teams that I worked with, and I just met them through happenstance, was known as NP Paranormal out of Sheffield, England. They go by Knox Paranormal now. And in England, it's a little different the way that things are perceived.
yeah,
Um, doesn't mean it can't be just as crazy. Believe me, you got some Looney Tunes over
yeah,
there.
it can, but not as
Um,
much as you see here.
no, no, not well. And part of that, I have to be fair, and I'm going to call a spade here. In the whole America versus the UK type of situation, or not even just the UK, because Ireland is completely separate. You have Northern Ireland, Ireland and everything, but it's different over there where they can investigate it. It's not like you have to rent out a place at $75 a head, cheapest one possible, and have 20 people in there. So, Joe Blow from Haunted House can keep his vet going. I don't know,
Right.
it's not like that. You can go to Lep Castle for, I think it was €6.
Oh wow.
€6, y'all. That's about $8 American dollars. You can spend the whole damn day there. You can go to ruins all over the place and just go and spend the whole day there. Now, some of the places you can't go at night, but most
Right.
cemeteries you can,
Oh,
and for free. For
oh
free,
wow. Oh, okay.
the same with the ruins, same with a lot of the castles. And for those people that say, "Oh, well, going, during the day, that's not an investigation," I hate to break this to y'all, and I'm gonna be real gentle with you. Ghosts are active during the day.
And go figure, right? And my thing now is I said, I am getting too damn old to spend, 24-hour lockdowns and shit like that all overnight. And no, like I can go in the same place and investigate during the day and still be and sleep at a decent time. So
Well,
yes,
and the thing is, truth of the matter is, most of your activity, if they will just give it a chance, happens during the day, because guess what? That's when they were awake. That's when they were awake. I
yeah,
mean,
but
I don't mean to call. I don't mean to be Captain Obvious here.
yeah, but in our field, it's like you see all the movies and you hear all the our experts, which I don't even know where that comes from, but they
Don't
all
even
tell
get
you
me started.
between 12 and 3 is the witching hour, and that's like why you've got to investigate super late, otherwise they're not going to communicate. And I'm just like, that is so not the case. Like, and the thing is me being able to see spirits everywhere I go. Like, I go to the grocery store, I go to the doctor's office, I go to the hospital, I go to the pharmacy, wherever I go, I will tell you, I always see it. That's why I was just talking about this weekend, the one place that I don't allow anything in is my house, because that is the only place I can block them out and I can get some silence. Even at my job, because I work in a haunted historical, building. Same thing here. It's like that all the time too. And it's like, yeah, I just have to have that one space. But they're very active all the time. All the time.
They really are. And as far as people calling that the witching hour and everything, I mean, I'm a pagan. I'm a card
Right.
carrying, tree hugging, hair burning, candle making witch too. And here's the thing. Witches back in the day, they had things to do and they needed sleep as well. They didn't wait till midnight to 3 a.m. to take care of business. Rest assured, they did it after the morning mucking of the stalls. They did it anytime during the day when they felt like it. If they just so happen to be up after midnight, they might take care of a thing or two. But it's that is not what you would technically call a witching hour, because witches are witches the whole other 21 hours of the day too.
That's right.
So
That's why I love
people
having
really need to research.
Well, but that's the I guess that's my dilemma where it just is like because this is supposed to be a whole genre. We've got the whole thing of paranormal with researchers, and nobody researches anything.
No.
Anything.
No.
It is so frustrating. I mean, even with me, like I still have people that think like I'm on the run and I'm still on the FBI's most wanted list, and they're I'm I'm a serial killer. It's like, okay, you wouldn't think that after what has it been 10 years, if I'm still here, that it was bullshit back then, it's still bullshit back now. But no, people don't research anything. It's much easier to just kind of go with their own opinion.
Or they get their news from memes.
That too. And you know what? I've had some pretty interesting and actually some pretty funny ones made of me.
Oh, geez, really?
Oh, yeah. I had one time, all right. I'm not even going to mention his name because I'm not even going to give him any kind of promotion. But this one guy that didn't like me and used to always talk crap about me took a picture and posted it and did Photoshop to it. And it was of a donkey's ass. And he said, she's a psych ass. I was like, and posted it everywhere with my face right in like the butt.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm going to give small kudos for creativity.
A little bit, but it wasn't wrong. I mean, it was funny.
A little bit. But I mean, is that really the way that he wanted to spend his time?
Well, yeah, that was kind of my thing. I mean, it was funny, but it's like that. If you're that obsessed and that's all you can come up with that, because first of all, like my feelings don't get hurt like that. So no. I laughed probably more than everybody else did. Like I shared it, I think back at the point. I thought it was pretty funny that you're so obsessed that you would even take the time to do all that, because I certainly would not. So you have to see. Let's see. Carol Ann is saying, people tell me cemeteries are not haunted. And that's funny because Carol Ann actually gives haunted walking tours of the cemetery of a naval base where she lives. So we know very much that they can be very haunted.
Well, and who the people telling her that they're partially right, but not completely. Let's delve into that real quick. Cemeteries themselves may be haunted in a minor fashion. Those that are still hanging around maybe don't quite understand where they're at, what realm they're in, what's going on. There's a lot of confusion. Makes perfect sense. But you take somebody that's got a little bit of light in them, a little bit of abilities, this, that, and the art, this, that, and the other, and you walk them into a cemetery, and that, I mean, they start coming like a moth to a flame. And it's not that they're constantly watching the cemetery. It's not like that. But you know how it is. You know how it is. You can walk into a location where nobody else is getting nothing. Mm-hmm. But you get a ton because you have that light that they can see. And it's the same thing happens with me and other people that I know that have those abilities. So it's not that they're wrong. They're just not completely right. So I do believe, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, so I do believe that where she gives the tours at is haunted. And especially when you walk into the area where she gives the tours, if you go to, I got to walk there real quick. Give me just a second. If you go 3/4 of the way in to the area and then take a sharp right, and it's almost like a pizza slice portion of the cemetery to the right side of it, 3/4 of the way back. That part is very active.
Well, I would tell you that that's very, very correct because I have investigated multiple times there because, again, I've known Caroline for a very, very long time. Yes, it is. I even actually had a very interesting case. So she was doing an event up there. Me and my co-founder, who's a psychic as well, we both went to go and support. And so we were walking around the cemetery. And for me, they're the peacefulest places ever for me. Like, that's where I meditate. That's where I love to hang
Mm-hmm.
out. Like, it's for me when that's why people think I'm weird, I guess. But we went there, and so we're walking around, and we really started getting a lot. We started getting kids. We started getting all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, my co-founder, she walks over and she puts her hand on this headstone. And as soon as she does it, like she has a full-blown panic attack. She just started, I mean, crying like she was grieving, like that. It was like uncontrollable. And I had to like go find Karen, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, we were only there for maybe 30 minutes, like from when we got there to when it happened. So I put her in the car and like try to give her some water, try to like calm her down, get her away from the area. Nothing. So we finally just said, okay, we're just gonna go home because I don't want to have her out here like this. I'd never seen her like that before. And it took us like probably almost an hour till we got out of town, till it finally broke. And then
Mm-hmm.
that was the first time she could tell me what had happened. And she said that she saw the spirit of what looked like, a soldier. And there was a woman at the graveside that was just grieving uncontrollably. And she was drawn to go over there, and she went and touched that, and she immediately sucked all that energy. And so that's why when you're saying about, yes, some can be haunted. What people also don't realize is that when people go there and they grieve, they are just exuding all of that energy that they have. And so a lot
Mm-hmm.
of that residual energy sticks at the cemetery.
Absolutely.
And people, well, again, that's why I'm so glad that you're on, because I've had, complete arguments and, discussions about this. And they're like, oh, yeah, you wouldn't get anything if it was just from people grieving. And I'm like, okay,
That's
that's what you
that
want to think.
that is an imprint.
Absolutely.
That is an energy imprint, and it is there, and it is, like you said, absorbed with the area. And will everybody feel it? No. But for the person that does, it's it's awful. And let me give a good example. Maybe people will understand this. I was in Ireland. I was staying at Spellman's Motel, and I had went in to the house that the gentleman that owned it at the time, the house that he used to live in. He was in, excuse me, I burped. He was in extended care at this time, because he was ill, and his nephew took me into the house, and it was what I was getting from it. I went in perfectly fine, but what I was getting from it in there, and keep in mind where I'm at, I'm in Balladrine, Ireland, and it was really struck with a lot of the famine history, and I was getting the children, and I was banging my head against the wall. Just bang, me, Vanessa, perfectly fine, just started banging my head against the wall because I could see the children, and they were talking to me, and they were going, we're hungry, we need food, we're hungry, the bread is moldy, we need food, we're hungry. And I just kept repeating that over and over and over again, banging my head against the wall.
All right.
Go back into the room, the loaf of bread, I didn't see this till the next day, the loaf of bread that I'd been making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on, that I'd just bought at the beginning of the trip, like 3 days before or something, was covered in mold.
Oh, wow.
I literally just made a sandwich the day before. But anybody else walking into that might not have. They might have felt like, oh, this is a creepy house. No one's living in here now. Everything's covered or it's taken out or whatnot. But I got the kids. And the kids
Right.
didn't have nothing to do with the house. They had to do with the land that was on. So, I mean, not everybody is going to get everything, and that's okay. Matter of fact, that's perfect, because if you and I go into some place, if I get one thing and you get something else, then we've got something to go on. We've got layers
I
to go
100%,
on.
yeah, I 100% agree because that's actually how my team, that's how we investigate. Because again, myself and my co-founder, we're both psychics, but we
Mhm.
both have different. She gets like they show her pictures and things. Me, I visually see it. So
Yeah.
I usually go through. I walk through and get whatever I can. I jot it down. She goes through, she walks around, she does the same thing. We put those away. Then we go in with the team, we investigate, get whatever we can. And then at the end, then we pull it all together and see, what can be validated and what we've really got. And I actually, as a psychic, I love working and collaborating with other psychics. I know
Hmm.
so many people who do not. They want to be, the star of the investigation, and they don't want to have. They're worried about somebody's going to get something different than them, and that may invalidate them. But I don't think that's that it at all. I think that people pick up different things, and based on that, you can get a whole lot more information than if it's just one person going through.
See, girl, you just hit on something. Hi, Amy. You just hit on something that it gets me right in my, is they're worried about being invalidated. Do I have to watch my language? I have to watch my language, don't I?
No, no,
Okay.
no,
I
we're
don't
not.
give two. I don't give two fucks if about being validated.
Yeah,
I don't care. I'm going to give you the information I get.
it's going
And
to make
if
sense
it's
or not.
yeah, and the thing is, if somebody else comes in there and they get something different, to me, that just validates a haunting more. Because I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you people. I really do. This is going to hurt my heart for a minute, so just walk with me. But when you have got haunted locations and every single person comes through and gives you the same damn story of something that happened 150 years ago, knowing good and damn well that this earth has been here a lot longer than that, for the love of all that's holy or whatever deity you pray to, please start questioning that.
Preach it, girl.
I'm telling you, because it is literally, history is layered. It is layered. And I am so much more likely to listen and possibly validate somebody else if
Right,
I actually feel they got a message. Not that they were regurgitating the same story that every Tom and Dick that's hairy out there has been doing for
right,
years.
right. No, I agree. I so agree. I
Drives
have
me crazy.
yeah, me too. But I have a question because I've been having a lot of discussions lately. So with my investigating, a lot of times I'm really at this point in my life, since I've investigated so many places, I am looking for places that are new, but that are not like the top bucket list of everybody in the paranormal.
Hmm.
I feel like so many places, when they've been overly investigated like they are, it is hard to sometimes even get for me to get a true reading because there is so much put in there with what's already there. People bringing stuff. It's just there's so much, and the energy is so thick that it's. I almost feel claustrophobic. Now, I mean, do you feel that way too, or have you
Yes.
encountered that when you go to places that are like super popular? Let's put it.
It was difficult in Moundsville.
Okay.
They're in West Virginia. Um, did I still get stuff? Yes, especially down in the Sugar Shack.
Okay.
Um, but when you're talking about especially being there with a large group, you know how places like that would do those really large groups, and granted, they split you up, they do, and they try their hardest, and that's great. But
Yeah.
there is still residual energy from the people that were going into that particular cell block before you, and then you're leaving energy for the people coming into the cell block after you. You know, when people want to find something new, I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody else: get in your car and drive,
Well, yes, exactly.
and find what you find, because I mean, again, I hate to be the bearer of obvious news to everybody, but more than just criminals and psycho people die. Regular Joes
Right.
die too. Grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, kids. They have a need to be heard as well. And I mean, hey, you know what? They're not all scary. Isn't that great?
Well,
Isn't
not
that
if you watch
wonderful?
TV. If you watch
You
TV,
know,
everything is scary and everything is demons. Don't did you forget?
and I know, right? I mean, and seeing that is the one thing that absolutely kills me. Absolutely kills me is you have so many people out there. Sorry, my butt was going down, so I had to move. You have so many people out there that for them it has to be that way for it to be valid or
Right.
important to them. It has to be that way. But those same people that claim they believe in this so much, the second something happens, the second when they're like, touch me, touch me, touch me, and then they run like a little girl,
Yes.
I'm like, you know what? I can tell you right now, you don't believe in ghosts. You don't. Because if I ask you to touch me and you do, the next words out of my mouth are, thank you.
That's right. Absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely. Well,
you.
it's a new time now. I think that, at the beginning, everybody was wanting to be able to have their own paranormal show. They couldn't do that. Then it was a big thing if you were asked to be a guest on any paranormal type show. And so then people would say, oh, I've been on, my ghost story or whatever, right? Then it went to the point that, well, they ran out of people. So really it was like, if you just had a story and you'd say you'd be on, you could be on. And then everybody realized, okay, well, we're not making any money. So now let's go to YouTube because now we can put our own stuff out there. But then they found out really quickly that mostly what we do is not very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So either you have to have a whole lot of really good editing skills to make it look like something, or you're not going to have a good show. Then we started getting more of the social media and then more of the television shows. And so now you've got TikTok. So everybody wants to now be like on like a whole new generation of, fame seekers to make money off of investigations. But again, then we got into this new wave of, I mean, back when we started, you rarely heard of anything that was demonic. I mean, I'm still to this day, but I'm still really trying to find something that can truly convince me that's what it is. Now, not saying that it's not out there, because I absolutely believe it is, but I think it's so much more rare than people, think, because I'm 56 years old and I have been doing this forever. And have I come up against some really dark things? Absolutely. Do I think it was demonic? No, because I was able to handle it. I didn't need to go find somebody to help me. But now I'm also seeing all the shows are demonic. Everybody's a demonologist now, just like the psychics, right? As soon as psychics were popular, everybody was a psychic. Now, now that demonology is big, now everybody's going to be a demonologist. And if you were a demonologist, oh, now you're going to be an exorcist. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, can you really tell me, like, do you have video? Do you have like anything? Because I'm really wanting to see this stuff. Can you bring
Hmm.
me? If you get a possession case or you get something really done, can I come? Like, I mean, I know to a lot of people that it may sound crazy, but that is true. I'm just one of those people too. If I'm investigating, it pisses me off when I see people, saying, "Oh, I'm these expert investigators," and they're running like, little, crybabies when something happens. When everybody else is running because they're scared, that's exactly where I'm running to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm seeking that information. I want that validated. I want to be able to get that proof, not for anything other than me, really, to be absolutely honest. But yeah,
Well,
the demonic stuff's killing me.
it was I've only come across something that I think could be construed as that once. And I'm 51.
Okay.
So one time. Um but I was in Ireland, and I was with this gentleman who was kind of acting like, bodyguard type of situation because, it was late at night out at Moore Hall, really, really creepy place just because it was so foreboding. It was huge, 4 stories tall, but not like a 4-story house tall, 4 stories like a castle tall. Okay. And there was a big difference, y'all, just to let you know, big difference. And, he was up on like a makeshift ladder at the very front window on top of the front porch. That's the only thing I can call it. It's stone. That was, he had his cell phone. He had one of those iPhones, and he had turned it off, laid it face down on the windowsill about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from him. And this windowsill was 12 to 18 inches deep, solid stone. Okay. He was taking pictures inside the window because there was no glass. This place had been completely gutted in a fire. So you could not go in. So there was no floors. Okay. That, whatever was in there, that really didn't want us there. I'm going to be very honest, didn't really want us there. Not only picked up his phone, turned it on, but also turned on the flashlight and threw it. And most people, I think, would have wigged out. I really think that. And my little chunky butt just waddled over, picked it up off the ground, and handed it back to him.
Right.
Because when you truly believe, you're not surprised when something happens.
Nothing. Yeah, exactly. That's what you're looking for. You're expecting that. We're more upset when we don't get anything. It's like, oh man,
right? Right. But it's just, but I think you're right. I mean, it's so much of it is tainted, for lack of a better word, by TV and movies and everything else. And granted, oh, thank you, honey. So much of that is tainted by TVs and movies and this, that, and the other, simply because they do have to do it for entertainment value. And I get it.
100%.
But be
honest about it. Be honest about it.
Yes, absolutely. Be honest about it. But the other thing is, at some point in time, I also have to believe that we as a people are smart enough to understand the difference between made for TV, made for movies, and real life.
You would think. But you know what? This is a whole new generation of people, because I will tell you, I always wondered why people just didn't have common sense. It's just not common anymore. It just
isn't. No, not even a little bit.
No. So it's frustrating to get. I think all the time the same way. It drives me crazy sometimes. I don't understand like where this field even goes sometimes. It is a much different field than when I started, for sure. But again, it just kind of seems to recycle. And even though it's like a new generation of people there, it's going to come with the same new generation of even bigger issues and problems as they go. Because I can remember when my best friend from Ghost Adventures, first came out, and he was doing all the provoking. And anytime I would go investigate with people, they'd want to provoke, and I'm like, why? Well, that's the only way that you can interact with the spirit world. And I said, who told you that? Well, we saw it on TV. Oh, well, then investigate.
Oh, so it must be true.
Must be true, right? Well, of course. And then when I would get paranormal investigators, and I'm like, well, where did you get your training? Did you, because back then, like, we would connect with other teams and stuff like that, and learn from each other and stuff like. Well, you don't want to do that now because everybody wants to be their own expert and know it all. So, but you would see people back then, and I'm like, provoking, why would we do that? And if you're actually going to find something dark and you provoke it, do you realize what could happen from that? And these same investigators that would say, oh, well, I got my training on TV. I watched Ghost Adventures. And I'm like, oh shit, well, you're going to go from an investigator to one of my clients here very soon. And it would always happen. They'd end up calling back. And exactly what I said. Same thing about doing protection when you're investigating, and doing it before you leave and making sure to state the fact that they can't come with you. All these things. this is all I ever talked about at the beginning, when I first started and when I was a speaker and all this stuff. Always talked about it. Do you think anybody did it? Absolutely not. Oh, it's not important till they have an attachment or somebody follows them home and now they start having all these problems. And the whole investigators now don't have not a clue what to do. Are
Well,
they going to go?
I have to call myself out on my own bullshit. I do, because I'm just like you. I'm always preaching that, but for the longest time, I was a do as I say, not as I do gal.
Yes, but that's because we learned the hard way.
Yeah, because I was so afraid that if I shielded, because when I shield, hi honey, when I shield, I shield. My shield shows up in aura photos. I have proof. I mean, you can actually see me encased in an aura photo. So I mean, it's a Billy Badass shield, and it is so good that I was afraid if I blocked too much stuff out, I would miss something really important. And it literally took me years to understand. They'll understand. They'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
If it's really that important and they think you're the only one that can get a message to them, they'll come back. And it did. It took me a very, very long time, and I didn't shield. So I would end up channeling. Oh, that almost got me killed a couple times. So now I've learned that I can actually kind of keep myself half in, half out, so that they don't get complete control, but they can, they still have some control, but I have control too. So it's kind of like before I used to let them drive my car completely. Now I'm in the passenger seat holding the wheel.
Well, you're very different. I'm kind of a control freak, and I've only had something jump me to channel one time, and I thought I was like fully possessed, in my mind, because I had never had a situation where something jumps me. I'm speaking and I'm doing things, and I can hear everything I'm saying, but it is not anything I'm saying. That's a scary feeling, and
Yes, it
so
is.
my thing is, it's like, look, I don't know how other people do. I know other people channel, but I can see you. I can hear you. So I don't need you to jump in me and tell me anything. Just tell me what you want. I'll give the message. That's how we need to do this. So I really had to put some parameters up too, because, I had gone over 50 years and never had a situation like that. And then all of a sudden it came. And again, it scared me so bad because I had no control. And it was the first time I ever experienced it. So now I'm like, oh, no. You're not
My
going to
first few times, I don't even have a recollection of. All I have is witness accounts, and one of them was, yeah.
Just want to give her a big shout out again. We were just up there. Love ya. Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine. My second time it happened, and I've talked about this many times on shows, but my second time, what jumped me actually had me trying to break into Jacques Saint Germain's house in New Orleans.
Oh shit!
Yes, and in broad daylight, it took me out of Marie Laveau's. I think it was Marie Laveau's. Took me out of Marie Laveau's voodoo shop, or it was Papa's Reverend Zombies. I can't remember which one. Took me out of there and had me breaking in to Jacques Saint Germain's house. For people who don't know, if you look up Jacques Saint Germain, he is one who was believed to be an actual vampire in New Orleans.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And one of my guides is Saint Germain, who is an ascending master. So it's interesting the continuity there. But I woke up from that channeling session on my back with my knees up on the sidewalk. And my friends that I was there with just staring over me, and I'm like, what in holy hell did I do now?
Yeah. It's a scare. I mean, look, when it happened to me, I was with somebody who now is a very, very good friend of mine, but it was the first time meeting her. She's asking me to go up and do a reading of her apartment in Virginia City. And as soon as I open the door and I see a guy and I start, saying what he looks like, as soon as he heard that I could see him, he just came full force running at me and literally just jumped me. And again, it it was something I never experienced before, and nor do I ever want to experience it again. I don't like the fact that I had absolutely no control, because at one point he was telling her this, what he wanted to say, and she didn't really believe in psychics, which, again, as you know, makes it even harder, because here you already have somebody that has a preconceived idea that you're going to bullshit them. So when I gave all the information, her eyes started watering, she looked away, and he just reached out and grabbed her by the face and make her look at me and just start screaming. The next day when we talked about it, she literally had bruises on both sides of her face because he grabbed her so hard. And all I could think of in my brain is, oh my God, I just met this woman. I have no control over my body. I just grabbed her face. Like, she could just knock me out right now, and there would be absolutely nothing that I could do.
I have to ask you, excuse me, would it be fair to say that when you started talking about that, the very first thing that happened is, my gut just dropped, and I felt very, very, very nauseous, almost like stale alcohol in my system.
Okay.
And it was...
Keep talking.
I don't want to say, I have to look away because I can't look at you when I do this. I don't want to say that he was a bad person completely, but there's very much a misogynistic attitude behind his aggression. And
No, go ahead.
I almost want to say that he wasn't even talking to her. He was talking to somebody that he believed to be her.
Oh, he was definitely talking to her. So I'll tell you what they had. So they were not into the paranormal, anything like that. They're from England. They lived in Carmel. They did some research. They wanted to buy a bar, like a store bar. They found this bar, an apartment in Virginia City that happened to be available, and they bought it. So immediately they wanted to start the renovations so they could get renovated and open back up. Well, we know anytime you do renovating, especially somewhere that's active, it's definitely going to continue. So they started having all kinds of activity. And again, neither one of them are in the paranormal, knew anything about the paranormal. But of course, they didn't really realize that they moved into one of the most haunted towns in Nevada. So they started talking to local people. There's a lot of local groups up there. They started bringing different people in. Like, when I was walking down, like, I was seeing people like doing rituals, trying to open portals, like just all kinds of shit. They didn't know what the hell they were doing, right? But they were all going in, and they were so desperate for help. They were just letting anybody come in and do whatever, because they didn't know if what was being done was right or wrong. They were just hoping for some help. So it started getting worse and worse. And she started noticing that there was a lot of changes in him. He started drinking heavily. He got very aggressive. He then became fixated and obsessed with the building. He never wanted to leave the building. He always wanted to work on it. All night he would be working on it, etc. Ended up having, some personal problems in their relationships because of all this. And finally, his wife was just like, enough is enough. I'm out of here. They decided to get a divorce. In the divorce, he still wanted to keep the bar. So the agreement was he was going to buy her out. And so that was the plan. And then she was supposed to get the money. Didn't hear from him. She started calling, trying to get a hold of him. Like 3 weeks go by. She still doesn't hear from him. And this is just not normal. So she actually called the local sheriff to have them go do a wellness check. And they found him deceased inside of the doorway, right inside the doorway of the apartment. So when I walked in there, that's exactly what it was. But when he was talking to me and he was giving me the information for her, and again, I had just met her and I didn't know anything about her husband. And you know me, when I investigate, first of all, if I'm going to do a reading, I don't want to know anything. If you don't even tell me where I'm going, that's even better, because then there's no way you could assume that I Googled anything. I just want to just see what I get. But when he went in there, he kept telling her, I need you to forgive me. It wasn't me. I love you. It wasn't me. It was this building. And it started to upset her, and he kept trying to convince her that it was him coming through me, right? And my hand all of a sudden just went like back on a table that they had right there, because again, it was, everything was closed down because it was going through probate at the time, so it was just, everything was kind of random everywhere. I put my hand back, I grabbed this box, I put it in her hand, and I said, if you don't believe it's me, now you'll know it's me. And as soon as I put that box in her hand and she looked at it, she just burst into tears and ran out of the apartment and down the stairs and out the building. And I went running down the stairs and out the building as well. Well, he did. So he's making me run down the stairs after her to get her. But as soon as we went through the doors to the building, it broke. And when I finally talked to her the next day, now mind you, like, she's now freaked out because she doesn't believe in psychic. She doesn't believe in all this stuff. And now, obviously, it really freaked her out. And I grabbed her face, and she didn't know what the hell was going on, nor did I. She goes across the street to one bar to get trash. And I didn't even know what to say to her, how to even explain this, because I didn't know what happened. So I went to another bar and got trashed. And then we eventually, when we went home, we didn't meet up. But then in the morning, we were the only two that were first awake. So we decided to talk. And come to find out, she was like, I didn't believe in psychics. Like, she really thought my other friend that introduced us had told me something. But once she, was told that wasn't the way it was, she said, the only reason that I knew was that box you gave me. And I said, what was that box? And she had it with her. She opened it, and it was a pair of cufflinks. And it was the last gift she gave him before he passed.
Oh, wow.
So she asked me what to do. I've been up there since. The second time I went up there, I said, hey, look, Nick, just so you know, now I can see you. You can see me. Like, you cannot jump into me. Like, anything you want me to tell her, please let me do that. We're not going to do that again. I convinced her they had a picture of, like, a portrait of the two of them, I think from when they got married or something. She had taken that down when she went back to the apartment and put it in a closet. So after a little bit of time, I think she needed to have it sink in. She started to forgive, and she put that picture back up. And upstairs, everything died down. But there is so much in her building, it's like there's prostitutes that, were killed there. There's their children that were burned in the building. Then there is something very dark downstairs. And then there's like this hat man guy that kind of wanders the whole town. So there's a lot going on.
That's why I'm saying, okay, when I said I don't think he was talking to her. He might have been talking to her, but that building did not make him do that.
Well, that's how he feels.
That's how he feels.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But it goes so much deeper than that. So much deeper than that. There was actually, it's not, you've been through the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the downstairs, the lowest parts you can go.
The basement was that place, and the basement was where I did my interview when I was on Ghost Adventures for her. And down there was actually, when they were doing the renovations, they were digging down there, and they found bones. They found buried money that had like the dye sack that had like burst in it, but it was still buried under there. There is so much that people find in their basements in that town. It doesn't even shock me. I'm actually going to be going up not too long from here. I'm going up to an undisclosed location up in Virginia City as well, that multiple psychics have come, that all of them go to this exact same corner in this basement and have all picked up on that there is some kind of a body or bones that are buried under there that are wrapped in plastic, I think is what they said. So
all the way back to the left side.
All the way back to the right. Well, yeah, I guess it'd be the left side depending on where you're where you're standing, because when you walk down, originally it's like a long wall, but so it would be on the left, but if you turn, then there's another wall, so it was like it's like the right corner. But you're right, and so we are actually, there's a place here where you can actually get the radar, the ground penetrating radar. You can rent it. So we're going to rent it, and we're going to go up and investigate. We're actually going to do the radar over it to see if we get anything. Crazy thing is, though, is that when we're talking to the owner about this, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" Yeah, and every time we go there, it's all kinds of crazy stuff we get. But his first thing was, "Oh well, if there's bones down there, I'd love to dig them up." And I was like, "Oh my God, absolutely not."
If there's bones down there, the first thing you have to do is contact the local police department.
Absolutely. But, he's like, "Oh, I could take the bones and I could hang them up and, that way in the shop." And no, you can't. You cannot do that.
Yeah. So, now, is that place or the other place? Which one is closer to where the mines used to be?
Well, they're actually just probably a block away from each other, because, in Virginia City, it's just like one long street, and the mines are kind of further up towards the end of the street. But the whole town, I mean, when you walk through there, there is not an ice cream shop. There is not
dark
anything anywhere that you go in there. And I mean, obviously the Washoe is there, Mackey Mansion is there, like all of these. The Opera House, all of these places are very, like, probably within a few minutes of each other, that are well known. And then they think that's the only places that are haunted, but every single place that you go through, there's stuff going on up there. So, I mean, I love it. I mean, always something going on.
There's have you been into the house that's closest to the Opera House? The regular home that's closest to the Opera House?
No, not as closest. I mean, there are a couple houses that I know people live in that are very close by that are very haunted, but again, it's kind of everywhere. Is it like that? So.
It's weird because there's like a spider web underneath that place. You know what I mean? It's like, I think the key well, you're not going to ever get rid of the activity, but to kind of finding the source of it is finding. Oh, Jennifer's got a question. Is finding the central hub of that spider web, and I want to say that it feels like it's under the area, underneath what would have been like a general store.
Okay. Well, you know what? When I go, I'll let you know where I'm when I'm going and all that.
Yes.
And maybe I'll call you.
Okay.
And we can do a remote thing, because I know I do that all the time for places. But since you're picking this up, then that way I can kind of walk around with
you. That'd be great. That would be great. Okay. Now, Jennifer had a question.
Jennifer, please go ahead and put in your question, and we'll bring it up. Let's see if we have anything else. Hold on. Hey, brother, nice to see you. Where the Masons would hold their meetings. There's a lot of things there. I don't know what they're talking about, actually. I'm not sure who Terror Destroyer is. Okay. Seems like they think they're my moderator, I guess. I don't know. All right. Let's see. Yeah, so Michelle knows where I'm talking about. She's been there before, so she absolutely knows. Like she says, that place is no joke. So Michelle says there are mine tunnels all under Virginia City.
Yeah, it's like a spider web. Watch your back when you go.
Oh,
and I don't mean that metaphorically speaking.
No, I know. I definitely know what you're saying for sure. Yeah, Jackie says, yeah, I'm serious. That entire town is haunted, and it definitely is. Christine, I'm seeing you have a question too. So if you guys have a question, just put it in the chat below. All right. Yeah, Vanessa, you should come out sometime and meet us up there. I
would love to. All I need is, figure out when I can do it, and then somebody to pick me up at the airport and let me sleep on your couch for a night.
I got you. And like I said, where we would be actually investigating, my friend, she has a 3-bedroom apartment upstairs, so we'll have a place to stay. That's not a problem.
Perfect.
You would fly right into Reno, we'd come get you, and that's not a problem either. Okay, Jennifer says,
Perfect.
I don't know if there's a presence in my house, but lights flicker, having problems opening and shutting our electric garage door. Are we having electrical issues, or is there something here?
Okay, so I don't know how honest she wants me to be.
Be honest, because
Okay.
that's what we do.
Okay, I think you put it out there publicly, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. Um, and I could be wrong, so I'm going to preface by saying that. Okay, but it has been my experience, and it is my feeling now that the problems, electrical in nature, tend to stem from an energy problem with one or both of the individuals in the home. When one tends to be more energetically draining to the other, you will have those electrical problems. Light bulbs have to be changed more often. Lights go off and on. Certain electronics don't function properly. And the only way to counteract that is not to buy more light bulbs, not to have an electrician come out, not to buy new electronics, but to find out what the electromagnetic or energetic drainage is within one or more individuals in the home. That can be caused by emotional or mental issues. That can be caused by work-related problems. That can be caused by problems within the relationship. So if that is correct, that is the area that I would look at fixing.
All
And
right.
you will notice a definite diminishing of those problems.
All right. Christine has a question. She says, yes, ma'am. What was the scariest thing both of you have endured and the hardest thing to shake out of what had happened?
Well, for me, it used to be what I came across in Virginia, but I have switched that to what I came across with the children in Ireland. And because that was something that is to feel their pain and to feel their hunger. To me, that's truly frightening. And to have them coming through me that way, talking about their pain and their hunger, that beats the dickens out of anything else out there as far as I'm concerned, because that's real, that's tangible. That was a child who was literally starving to death. And I actually had physical repercussions from that. I did a live feed on it when I was in Ireland. One of the side effects I found out from a friend of mine from England, I did that video where my eye just kept, one eye just kept twitching and going into the center. That can be caused by malnutrition. So to have something like that physically manifest itself in me.
That's strong. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. So it might not be, scary in the sexy kind of way as like, that's made for TV, but that something that real, that tangible, that was frightening, because that's something that not only could happen, but did happen.
And it sticks with you. I mean, there are certain things that happen that they're not easy to shake. I mean, some things can happen and, next day you're fine, but there's some things that really stick with you. And I mean, the two that really stick out to me is the one I just told you about at the Union. And the second one, I went to Oregon, McMinnville, Oregon, and I went to the Bayou Mansion. It was the first time it had ever been investigated. And again, in the basement was something very dark, did not want anybody there. And of course, the person who was hosting it, that's the first place he wanted to go because, everybody's gonna want to go down there. And I ended up agreeing to go down there after all kinds of other things that had happened. We finally decided to go down there. And as I was on live while they were doing like a seance, and I hear, from the first time I went down there, I heard this thing tell me to get out and to get out now. And so now I'm back down there. We're sitting in a circle. They're doing a seance, and I've got my phone live streaming. And all of a sudden, I hear, "Get out!" And I don't say a thing because, right, I've got all these people around, and all of a sudden on my live stream, you hear the women to the left and the right of me say, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Hear what?" Like, I'm acting stupid because I want to see you, right? And they're like, could have swore I just heard something say, like, "Get out," like right by you. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I think we should go and now go up to the attic and blah, blah. So everybody starts going up this staircase, the rickety staircase back up to the main floor. And it was like a bunch of people. Then it was like me. And then there was like maybe 4 or 5 people behind me, maybe. And I started to go up, and everybody saw this black shadow from the top of the stairs fly down the stairs, go right at me, literally levitate me off the stairs and throw me across the floor in front of them. And I didn't any of that. I woke up, I was just on the floor. And so when they said that, I saw the black shadow too. I have just had experiences before where ghosts have gone through me, and it's caused me to pass out. So that's what I thought happened. So I'm like, no, I'm fine. It was just really weird. But nobody said anything to me. Like, they just helped me. They're like, "You need to go home." Like, and then that was on a Saturday. So I get back to California Sunday, and on Monday I had my show, and they were coming on the show to talk about it. And as I'm talking about, "Oh yeah, the ghost went through me and it made me pass out," they're like, "Oh no, that didn't happen." And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, like, what are you talking about? Why are you trying to make me look like a liar?" And they're like, "No, what really happened was you got levitated in front of us and thrown across, and when you hit, you got knocked out." And I'm thinking, why in the world would you guys have said something like this to me? And they're like, "No, like, we didn't want, like, you had a 10-hour drive home. Like, we didn't want to, like, talk about it then." And I will tell you, on the way back, like, from when that happened, like, for a week, I could not shake it.
Mm-hmm.
Not shake it whatsoever. I felt like whatever it was still with me, or it had left something attached to me. I mean, it was bad. Like, I went through a bunch of friends to try to help me with attachment and everything. And finally, it took me about a week, but we got rid of it. But yeah, that was kind of something scary too. And that was back too when, like I didn't practice what I preached. I always told everybody, protect, protect, protect. And then here I go in, like, no protection whatsoever. And then, act like I'm shocked that something happened to me. So, you learn as you go, for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh no, guilty. I was when I say being taken to a location years ago, I was driving to meet them, and then they were picking me up at a restaurant, and they were taking me to the location because I'm the same as you. I don't want to know anything first.
Right.
Let me see what I get. And so after the investigation, where a lot of physical stuff happened to me, they took me back to the restaurant. I was driving home. This is when I learned to never do that, because I ended up in a ditch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big, that's okay. So this is why I get so irritated and let's just go ahead and say it, downright fucking mad. When people act like doing something like this is no big deal, or anyone can do it. I believe everybody has gifts, but not everybody can do everything.
Right. Nor should
they. Exactly. Pinch poke, yell me a Coke.
Right.
Oh God, sorry. Bar showing. I had to cover them up.
Hey, we
but yeah, I mean it's stuff like that has happened to me so much. I mean, I've woken up. I had an attachment for years. It's finally understood he had to back off. Finally understood. But I'd wake up with handprints all over my body in places my hands can't reach. Okay, bruises. I mean, I'd go to sleep at night back in Oklahoma before I moved to Virginia, before I moved here. And I mean, there was one night where I'd close my eyes and there was like 30 of them in my room. I'd close my eyes again. They had switched places. This went on for like 20 minutes before I finally just threw down. And I was like, we're not doing this. This is my home, And it's like I tell people, be very, very, very careful what you wish for.
That part.
Because I didn't wish for any of this.
No, yeah, and that's why I say I don't either. And I agree with you that I believe, everybody is born with abilities. I think that, if they're not super strong or you don't have a lot of support when you're young, I have found mentoring people that usually by the time that you enter grade school, that they're shut down. Now, again, then you see many kids get older, maybe teenage years, and they start to reactivate because of all the hormonal changes. I have seen when people get to be adults and all of a sudden they start, having the abilities pop up, and, they'll say, oh, well, I don't have any abilities. And I'll say, oh, well, have you ever walked into a building, and met somebody, and immediately you don't know this person, don't know anything about them, but you just immediately know they are not a good person. And they're like, well, of course. And I'm like, well, what do you think that is? And they're like, your gut, your gut feelings. And I'm like, okay.
What do you think that is?
What do you think that is? And it's so crazy that, people will kind of create whatever it is that they want, to believe. And then they'll say, oh, yes, I have some abilities and I can help you with those abilities, tell you, so they don't overwhelm me. And they say, oh, but I wish that I could see things like you can. And I'm like, yeah, probably not, and they're like, oh, I really wish. I mean, is that something that people can do? And I'm like, yeah. But would you really want to? Because again, people have such a misconception because yes, sometimes when they're passed, I see them just like I see you, they're just more transparent. Sometimes if they've just tragically died, I see them, however, tragically. I've seen people with their face shot off. I've seen people with slit throats. I've seen all kinds of very interesting things. I have walked around corners and when somebody jumps out and scares you, oh, I can just be walking and just there's a spirit and scare the hell out of myself. Not that I'm scared of the spirit, but just because of the startle, because I went around the corner and bam, they're right there in my face. And then the deal breaker I keep telling them is like, I had a situation, and you can tell me if you've ever had this, because again, I sometimes I think I'm the only people that have that happen. But I was with my husband one time, and we were having relations, and I looked over his shoulder, and I had a whole viewing gallery, and I felt like I was like making a paranormal porno, and I was like, you know what, this is too much. Like, this is not what I signed up for. I had spirits watching me while I'm going to take a shower, going to the bathroom. It's very intrusive. So where some people you can't see and you just really have to use your other senses or tools or things like that to get answers, everybody thinks just because you can see things, oh, it makes it so much nicer and so much better, and it's absolutely not the case. I'm like, why would you want that?
Sometimes I would like to know they're not there.
Right? Yes.
Because I'm sorry, if I'm going to go in and take a poo, I really don't want an audience.
That part. If I wanted to, make porn, then I'd be doing it for real people, and to be getting paid for it. I'm like, you guys are just sitting there and like, where did you guys come from in the first place? But it was, again, my first time experiencing something like that, and I'm like, oh wow, this is some weird shit. Like,
yeah,
okay.
And how do you explain that? I had a relationship with a guy who the woman in my apartment, who nobody could see but me, did not like him, and she terrorized him when I was at work all the time. Terrorized him.
Well, I told my husband, stop.
For good reason.
Like, what? And he's like, we need to stop. Yeah, you need to stop. He's like, why? Like, we got people watching us, and he's like, can you stop with the shit?
But say no. It's just, sorry, y'all. I just got to get comfortable. My back's killing me. But no, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And the thing is, when it comes to things like that, this is the stuff that nobody talks about. They don't talk about the embarrassing stuff of it. They don't talk about the uncomfortable stuff of it. But I tell you what they do talk about is how good they are. And that, again, anybody, if you're watching this, beware of people that brag about how great they are doing this, okay? For heaven's sake. If they know everything, if they've experienced everything, if they've done everything, they have an answer for everything, and by golly, they are just awesome, run.
Absolutely. Because you know what? Even with as much experience as I have investigating,
I'm shocked every day.
Well, I was going to say, but there's been plenty of times where I haven't had the answers of how to help myself, and I've had to reach out to somebody else for advice or for help myself.
Oh,
So
hell yes.
I'm constantly learning. So, that's again why I like to work with other people, because I get to see different techniques and how other people do things. And I don't think there's any such thing as an expert. I think that if you think you're an expert, there's something wrong with you, because again, and if you're out there just bragging about, hey, look at me, because for me, I've never had to do that. People come to me and they'll get a reading, and if they're happy, they're happy. They're going to come back, and where they're going to tell everybody how accurate they are. I don't need to toot my own home, because to be absolutely honest, it's really not from me. I'm just the in between. I'm just giving the message.
Yes.
I'm not, it's
Yes.
not like I'm this amazing person. I am just literally giving the message. It's either going to make sense or it's not. And when I do my readings, I ask immediately, please make sure you give me pieces of information that only that person is going to know.
Yes.
And again, when you get that, that's all you need. But yeah, again, how would I know if I'm accurate? Because that would be some bullshit if that was the case. Because again, I'm just connecting and giving you what I get.
Most of the readings that I do, most of them, things come through, and there's no way in the world I would ever know this. And in my head, I even sound stupid to me. I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually going to tell this person this.
Right, right.
They are going to think I am knucking futs,
Yes,
you
but that's
know?
the message. So, and sometimes the way you give the message, as silly as it sounds or as backwards as it sounds, makes absolute sense to the person hearing it, because they'll say, oh my gosh, so and so used to say that all the time.
Oh, 100%.
So go figure. So
But
it's
see,
not
I mean,
it's not
I'm
us. It's
like you. I'm like you. I don't even advertise. All of my clients come via word of mouth.
yes. People just reach out to me, and I used to do, I mean, I think it probably like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I used to just do free readings all the time just to help people. But
Yeah.
it became so intrusive, and I would, I was doing 30, 40 readings a day, plus trying to have my own life. And then what really turned me off about it, and I started charging, because again, back then, if you charge as a psychic, once you were accepted as a psychic, if you charge, then you were also not any good. So, but I finally got to a point, I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing this free shit anymore, because people were calling me all hours of the day and night. If I didn't get right back to them, they would be pissed off. They would be posting horrible stuff about me, all kinds of stuff. So I like, nope, got to get away from this. This is ridiculous. I'm going to charge for my time. I'm not going to charge a lot of money, but again, it's an energy exchange. So something, I'm giving, I've got to receive something, even if it's a little bit. And I was against that for so many years. And even my mentor kept telling me, stop doing that, Christina. And I didn't listen for so long. And then I really started seeing it really affect my health. So I'm
Oh,
like, oh,
yes.
turn around, can't do that anymore, which really pissed people off even more, because now they're like, oh, you used to always give them free. Now you think you're, the big shit or something. No, it wasn't that case at all. It was just, we have to protect ourselves. It looks like I have another question here. Rahelia is saying, do spirits connect to people that are not psychic also, or just psychics? And if they do, how do you protect yourself from this? Good
That is a
question.
that is a very good question, but it goes back to what we were just talking about. Everybody has some level of ability. Everybody, and sometimes it takes a spirit to kind of tap you into it before you really know that you have that ability, or before you're wanting to admit to yourself that you have that ability.
Right.
They absolutely can contact somebody who isn't aware of what their capabilities are. That having been said, it happens so much more than people realize, but they poo-poo it away
Mm-hmm.
as coincidence, especially in regards to a loved one. Especially in regards to a loved one. I cannot tell you how many times I've done readings for people, and I've told them different things that they had been having happen in their home, and that it was messages from so and so, or from this person, and this is what they look like, or this is how they died, or whatnot. And they're like, well, I thought that was just a coincidence. No, 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 it's not. They're trying to reach out. They're trying to let you know, hey, I'm still around. I see you. I love you. I miss you as well. Please do what you need to do to help you and this, that, and the other. They're letting you know. It's hard for me to tell you how to protect yourself when I think it might be somebody needing to contact you.
Right.
That having been said, what I would tell you to do is if you're worried about that, if things feel different to you, if something's happening that does feel like it could be something like this, and it's not just a coincidence, and you're not going to poo-poo it away, you have control of your space. And by your space, I mean your person, and I mean where you're staying at, for the most part. Um, you lay claim to that space. You let them know, I'm uncertain of what this is. I'm not comfortable participating, and you let them know. You lay claim to your space. If there's, like Robert was talking, if there's particular crystals that you feel drawn to, I don't care if obsidian is to get rid of negative, if lapis brings in the goddess, if amethyst, is comforting, and quartz crystal amplifies. I don't care what people say crystals do. You go into an esoteric store, any esoteric store, you go to the crystals, you ignore the little paper things above them that tell you what they are, and you reach for the one that feels right to you.
That's right. Put it in your hand and just see how you feel. I
If
agree.
then that one is meant for you. And if you feel like that is going to protect you, that will protect you. If you want amplification of abilities, find one that feels like it's going to do that for you. Me telling you which one it's going to be isn't going to help you, because what if you don't feel drawn to that?
I,
What if you
I
can't feel the energy of that?
I'm also getting a question. This is from Jonathan on Twitter, and he is asking, with you being a witch, Vanessa,
Yeah.
if a person is told that they're going to put a curse on you, will it work if you don't put any belief into the curse itself? Good question.
Oh, John, if I could give you a big old kiss right now, I would. Okay. Now, I'm not flirting, so don't take that the wrong way. Curses take daily energetic input from the giver and the receiver. They do. I don't care what movie you saw. I don't care what show you saw. I don't care what witch you listened to or somebody claiming to be one. Curses generally, for the most part, 99.9% are self-fulfilling prophecies. Because once somebody has been told that they've had the bad juju, okay, sent on them, bad energy, whatnot, they accept that as their fate. And it's like the person that walks around saying, man, I got the worst luck. Everything goes crappy for me all the time. My luck is so bad. Well, sure it is, motherfucker. You're saying it.
Right. You're manifesting that.
Words are power. So
Yeah.
believe me when I tell you, I know people have tried to send shit my way.
Oh, definitely me too.
Yeah. Guess what? Bounces right off, because I simply do not prescribe to that way of thinking. You cannot do more harm to me than I could do to myself, believing you could.
Yeah.
So
I love
no
that.
power.
Yeah, I love that because, it's a pet peeve of mine when people come to me and they said, oh, I went and I got a psychic reading or whatever, and they told me there's a curse on me. And, if I pay them $2,500, they can break this curse. And I'm like, oh, like, why do people keep like falling for this? And they're like, well, they said that this would happen and now I've got bad luck and, this is happening. But again, every time something happens, they go back to these people who are telling them the same thing. And then they're just adding to it, to make it more, sound better and worse each time.
I was actually contacted by somebody, and I'm not joking. This is exactly what they were told, that they were cursed, and that this person was the only person that could help them, to the turn of $200 a pop for candles. Candles.
I've heard
Grew on the side of the mountain in Jerusalem. I don't know about y'all, but I have never seen a candle in the wild.
Definitely not growing up mountain.
They kind of got to be made. I'm just saying, okay? If anyone really wants to dig deeper into that, and I mean, I hate to promote myself, but I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Absolutely.
I have a book on Amazon right now that I will be pulling by the end of July, and it's called "They Would Have Burned Me," and it's 5 books in one, and one of those books is Rebel Witch. And in that book, and it's in there in its entirety, it's 5 books in their entirety.
Oh, wow.
Okay. One of those is Rebel Witch. And I tell you how to spot fake psychics. I talk about curses. I talk about witchcraft. You name it, it's in there. You know, because that is, let's just face it, I'm like one of the most hated psychics because I will call your ass out. Might not do it by name because I don't want to get sued, but I will tell your secrets. I've actually put YouTube videos out on how to spot fake psychics.
That's good. Well, you know, I say them by name. I don't give a shit. I just come back with receipts. As long as I got receipts, you can't sue me for nothing. So
that's the only thing I ever worry about. But if I'm going to dime myself out like I do in my books, you best believe I'm going to be giving away other people's secrets. You know, because that's just, I'm sorry. What people don't understand is shit like that, what we were just talking about, especially online, federally speaking, it's extortion.
yeah,
And what people don't realize,
for it.
exactly, what people don't realize is, let's say you're in California and the psychic you're talking to is in Jersey, and they tell you that you are cursed and that they can fix that curse, and you believe it, and you can actually get them brought up on extortion charges, and it's not one charge. It is a charge for every state line it crosses. And for every, yeah.
Yes, but it also, if you are over a certain age, it's also elder abuse as well. Like there's
absolutely
so many things that they will get you for something like that. And many people have actually, I would say at least in like the last 10 years, were getting really big busted. I mean, it seemed like it was a lot more like the gypsy, psychic ones on the side of the street, and they're telling you got curses and they're charging you all this money, and people are just so distraught that they're wiping out. I mean, they were getting people who had like got people for $100,000 to, some old lady that, her husband just died or something. And yeah, very sad. And again, for people like us, well, and I guess I'm just one of those right fighters for people like that. I don't feel like people like that should be in our field, should even
agreed.
Be psychic, so I will call every single time. Don't care.
Well, and it would be great if people listened, but we know there are people still out there. Every time somebody dies in the news that has any type of notoriety, you have people out there that are all of a sudden they can hear them and they're getting recordings of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And people still follow that man like he is the second coming. And I'm like, how dumb do you got to be?
Yeah, and for as many years as he's been, proven to be a fake, the fact that he's doing it, and again, some of it's not even just people in the paranormal. It's like anybody. If you're a celebrity, it's like he was best friends with them, and of all the people that these deceased celebrities go to, you think that it's just going to be him, but it started a trend because when I go on TikTok, there are tons of people who have their spirit boxes that are doing the exact same thing. And when I look at the amount of views they get, it blows me away.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Because
ignorance is contagious.
But we shouldn't be doing anything that, again, would negatively affect somebody else.
And the way I look at it, let's just go ahead and say it, Christina. We are all going to die someday.
Absolutely.
Every last one of us. Is that really who you want to talk to?
Well, I made it very clear. So when I die, I told everybody, I don't want anybody to cross me over. I got a plan to stay around, be petty, and haunt quite a few people. I got a very long list. I'm probably going to be around for quite a while. But I said, the one thing you always know is that if Steve Huff ever comes up and says that he has the ghost box with me, unless you hear me say, "Fuck you, Mr. Huff," you will know it's not me. That is the only way you can do it.
Absolutely.
And nor would I answer him if he called.
Oh,
I would be
hell
like,
no.
I reject this call. Thank you very much. Click. So
Exactly right. It's disturbing. It's
yes.
disturbing that people do it, but it is more disturbing how many people believe it.
Oh, I agree. And for as many people that catch on and they stop following him, he gets a ton of new ones. But again, we get so many new people in this field all the time that it's like there's a never ending supply of naive people
Ignorance.
that fall into that. Yeah. Robert
Yeah,
says, I'm going to
that's
be talking to everybody except for Huff. And reverse charges.
exactly right.
Yeah, that yes, I'm not taking the collect call, and I'm not even reversing charges. I'm not even speaking to him. He's on do not disturb forever.
There you go. He's on
All
the
right,
block list.
absolutely, for a very long time. So we're just getting to the end of the show, but so we've talked about your book. Please send me the link because that's one thing I did not get. Of anything that you want to share, I know you got a lot of things coming up this year. I'll go ahead and link it to the page so people can check out. I want everybody, I know everybody's been really excited. A lot of, good, great questions. Thank you so much. And if you want to reach out to Vanessa, absolutely get a reading
Mhm.
from her, talk to her, grab her book. I'll tell you, you will be completely amazed. And this, you can see why her and I have been friends for so long. We are very, very much alike, other than I probably am just a little bit more vocal on calling people out by name. And this is not, but that's all right. I'll teach her about that. Where ways around avoid being sued, so you can say whatever the hell you want. So, but again, reach out to her. She is an amazingly accurate psychic. When I actually go for my investigation and I call you, I'll go ahead and record it so I can share. So for all of you who
Oh,
are
that would be
watching,
wonderful.
love to have you watch that. So just keep an eye out. I'll be going back to BC the end of the month.
Now, real quick, where would, if I'm able to come there, like maybe next year for the weekend, where's the closest place for me to fly into?
Reno.
Reno? Okay. Okay. All right. Consider it a done deal.
I'll grab you. We got a place to stay, plenty of places to investigate, and just have a great weekend.
That sounds awesome, hon. I'm excited. All right. It's a date. Everybody, thank you guys so much for coming and listening and talking. Mwah.
All right, everybody. I will see you next week. Again, gonna have a great show. And don't forget that coming up shortly, we are going to have another episode of Fact or Faked. You're going to be the judge of all of the new paranormal evidence that's out there. Is it real or is it a bunch of BS? Well, you're going to be making the decisions. We're going to be showing that. And the second half of that show, I'm going to be bringing back the precog dream predictions that I used to do. People have been asking for them, so I'm going to bring it back. So if you want to know what's going to be going on the last 6 months of this year, you'll want to tune in because boy, oh boy, are we in. You buckle your seatbelts. Is going to be a crazy ride, including you, because Florida is going to be one hell of a place to be this year.
It's a bit of a shit show. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
but so I don't pay state taxes.
Well, that's right. But just watch out for the alligators and the hurricanes and everything else.
True story. True story.
All right. Well, I love you very much. Thank you so again for being here. And thank you guys for participating as always. I'll see you next week. Good night.
Bye.